Not a picture of Betsy, but my '84 GMC van that I painted at my friend's shop in 2007. Didn't turn out too bad.
Steering box is out. You're probably wondering, how did he take that steering box out? And nope, exhaust system is still up. I took the spark plug wires off, but because I have everything discombobulated here, like the master cylinder, I could pull the steering box all the way up to the firewall, then rotate the bottom part up past the back of the motor, and then it just came right out through here, just right out through the top. All I had to do is pull my oil cap off, and it just came right out through there. Easy peasy. So just as a quick diagnosis, the steering box gets tight going left and feels a little crunchy actually. Then when it gets into the middle, towards the right, it's loose. It's a little tighter all the way to the right, but in the middle it's just really loose. And that's the problem that I have. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pop this top cap off here and get a look at the sector gear.
That orange RTV is a giveaway. Yeah, I had this plate off back in the 80s. The grease inside the steering box got really crunchy, and I put some 90 weight gear oil in there to sort of reconstitute the grease, and it worked. It smoothed the steering box out, and naturally I drove it another 30 years, so it must have been okay. Although you can see that the grease that's in there right now is a bit chunky, and you know, the steering box is a little crunchy too.
Now that I've got it loose, let's see what we got here. See what kind of bushing shape we're in, what the shaft looks like, what this gear looks like.
Not much to see here, except, you know, there's not a whole lot wrong.
So my idea is, this gear here has to be worn significantly, because that's where it spends most of its time. See, you can really see the wear pattern on it. So, these are the triangle shaped gears that I was talking about. See, they're thinner at this end than they are at this end. So the deal is that there's a triangle shape to it, and they aren't machined straight across the block. The machine goes up. So basically what you end up with is a deeper cut here than here. Now the idea is that when you tighten up the sector gear, it can just move towards the tighter portion of the gear and take the slack out. But you will notice, see how much wear there is right here. I don't know if you can see that. See how much wear is right in the central point of this gear? See, not so much over here on this one, but a lot there, a lot on the other side over here. So basically there's a spot in the middle of this tooth, in this slot here, that has excessive wear. So the sector gear is tight here, it's tight there, but it's loose there. And if you try to tighten it up, push the sector gear this way, it tightens up on the edges to binding, and it's still got too much wear in the middle. So because it is a straight triangle gear, there's no slope to this. So there's no gear module curve or anything there. It's just a straight V. It should be relatively easy to machine. I wish I could just buy one of these gears. I'll bet you that's just harder than Hades. It kind of looks like a sintered iron type of hardened material. I haven't tried machining it yet, but I am going to try and see if I could do that. If I could take that wear out there, in there, and then take slightly more material out of the sides, I could restore the adjustment to the steering box. The other thing that it's doing, there's not much play in the ball bearings on this worm gear. But one thing it does every now and then, when I'm just running this around like this, is it'll catch, two balls will lock together. So I have a feeling there's a couple of ball bearings that have, maybe the case hardening is going bad on the ball bearings. And when they line up just right, they kind of lock into each other. And so I'm thinking that maybe I have one or a pair of bad ball bearings in these. So I'd probably take it apart and replace them all or whatever. You know, I'd have to try to find ball bearings that are of the correct dimension, of course. Anyway, that's the plight of the steering box. Now I have a decision to make. Just what am I going to do about this? Now if we look at this gear, it's kind of the same situation. There's not much wear on these end gears, and there's a lot of extra wear on this one tooth right in the middle, because this tooth is the one that runs inside this gear right here. So we have the wear there, and I'm pretty sure we have wear on this gear here too. That's you can see it's a little uneven. Tell just by the reflection of the light on it that it's a little uneven. But anyway, that's the extent of the problem with my steering box. Everything else is fine.
Hello, welcome to Don's Manufactory. Today is the scary zone. I am going to attempt to machine my own worm gear for my steering box. The only part that's showing excessive wear is this middle gear right here where the center is. And like I was describing before, my high center is worn, so it's deeper in the middle than it is on the edges, so I can't adjust the play out of my steering box. So I developed a little tool here. Well, here, let me do it this way. I'm just going to let you look over my shoulder because I'm working out the details right here on this here piece of paper. This is what I have to do. I have to machine this wear out of the gear. Now, it's got so much taper to it that I think I can go ahead and machine all of that wear out. It'll mean that the sector gear is a little further down, but there's plenty of movement here, so it should tighten up. Anyway, that's my goal, and I'm not out anything because I may have to buy a new steering box anyway, so I just thought, what the heck, let's give it a shot. So, in order to do this accurately, I needed a way to measure it. So what I chose to do was I just took a piece of 5/16 rod and then I turned it perfectly parallel or smooth or whatever you want to call it in a lathe. Now what I can do is lay it into the gear like so, and then take drills and measure how big of a drill I can get in here next to the gear, right into the corner there. See, that one just barely fits. So with zero wear, this is a number 41, so it's a 96 thousandths drill, just fits, right? So this is going to allow me to measure not only how much wear by moving this down into the wear point down here. See, this drill won't even go in. But when I get over here and measure this one, it still fits in. So what I can do is I will find the drill that fits in there, and then I can actually measure. But what it's going to allow me to do is machine that wear out off of this gear and measure how much material I'm actually taking off. And then I can duplicate that over here and then take about 3 thousandths more material off so that I'm tighter in the middle than I am on the edges. And that should give me my high center back again. I just put my gear together because I want to dry fit. I finished my machining
on these teeth there. See that? Got all the wear out of there. Hopefully it's gonna work. I think I have it right. But so I wanted to test fit it. But when I went to put the gear back on, this ball bearing reared its little ugly head, if you can see it right there. See how it's all crunchy? Remember I was talking about how there was a couple of balls that must be going through their case hardening because it felt crunchy every now and then? Well, there they are. There's two of these. So now I got to go find two ball bearings that are 230 thousandths in diameter. Now that shouldn't be tough. We have a bearing, we have McGuire bearing here in town, so I should be able to go there and just get a pair, I would think. There's enough ball bearings in here to run my test on my gear machining. So that's what I'm going to do now, but I still have to, I've got to wash up this case, get all the grease out of it and everything, and then I'll dry fit the gears, and I'll put a little bluing, which I should have here, or I can just use marker for that matter. I can use Sharpie. Put Sharpie on these gears and then check the pattern and see how I did. Okay, so what I'm doing now is putting the needle bearings into the housing where it goes in for the sector shaft. Everything's cleaned and greased up in there. So I got my light over here on the bench, so it gives me some light up through the center. And then I got to get all of these needle bearings stacked in there perfectly, and I've got grease inside here to hold the little bearings in place. And frankly, there is just no way you are going to be able to see this work. I mean, I suppose I could try to get some kind of a macro camera shining in from the looking in from the other side there or something, but if I don't know if you know the drill for this or not. Just put grease in the bearing and then fill it up. Didn't want to go down and stay down. Come on, like that. Okay, at this point, let's swing it all the way down like so. There you can see it. There's the worm gear moving back and forth when I turn the shaft. So I have to set this up. And you'll notice the way this goes in, make sure when you're putting it on the shaft you're doing it the right way. When the sector gear goes down, it tightens the grip. Tightens the gear. So in other words, the taper it's big up here and it's small down there. Okay, so now in all that flipping around, I hope I didn't knock any bearings out of the... Oops, this isn't going to work either. Now, gravity's working against me, but if I put it up this way... Okay, put that right in the middle. Like so. Now I gotta line up that... I'm sorry, I'm bumping you guys. Just like that. I believe that is the correct... Yep. See, I've got the middle gear on the middle hole. Now, just for grins, I'll go ahead and put this together just because I'm curious.
So the assembly is pretty straightforward. You just kind of have to turn the sector gear all the way one way or the other in order to slide the adjuster in. And there's a shim on that adjuster that has to stay with it in order, because it is fitted to the slot in the top of that sector gear. You don't want any play there, or it will, your steering box will clunk and bunk.
Oh, it's got that one tight spot in it, that is for sure. So here on one stop, I have just a little bit of play, as I'm supposed to, and 1, 2.5 turns later, that's center, I have 0 play. And then over on the other side, I have play again, but unfortunately there's one tight spot right, where is it? Right there. So there's one tooth that needs a little more machining. And the other unfortunate thing is I'm out of adjustment. The sector gear is all the way to the bottom and it adjusts, but it has no more travel. So I mean, I can put it back in and it'll be fine, but it's not going to be right because I won't be able to adjust it ever. So no word on the steering box today, so I'm assuming I'm not going to hear about it till Monday. I can still make my steering box work, but it would go in the car, it would be working perfectly, but it would have 0 adjustment left. So in other words, as soon as it started picking up some slack in the steering box 5, 8 years from now, or whenever, I wouldn't be able to adjust it out. So that's, and because of that, I would rather have a new steering box. So we'll see what happens there.